Adrian Peterson's journey is far more than a tale of sorrow. Losing loved ones to drunk drivers and organized crime would crush most dreams, but Adrian was different. The pain fueled his pursuit of greatness on the football field. His career was a roller coaster of epic highs and brutal lows, but just how good was Adrian Peterson? From the moment he was born, Peterson was destined for athletic stardom. Both his parents had impressive athletic backgrounds. His mom, Bonita Brown, was a three-time Texas high school track and field state champion who attended the University of Houston on an athletic scholarship. His dad, Nelson Peterson, played basketball for Idaho State and dreamed of making it to the NBA, but his career was cut short when his brother accidentally shot him in the leg. It was up to Adrian to fill his father's dreams of becoming a pro athlete. Born and raised in Palestine, Texas, Adrian's best friend was his older brother, Brian. They were inseparable, always playing outside. One tragic day, when Adrian was just 7 and Brian was 9, a drunk driver struck and killed Brian. Adrian witnessed the horrific event, which left him with unimaginable pain. But his trauma made him stronger. He channeled his grief into sports, specifically football. Adrian played running back and linebacker, loving every minute of it. By age 12, he was a star in the making. His dad, who served as an assistant coach, was so impressed with Adrian's nonstop motor that he nicknamed him All Day. Just when things seemed to be looking up, Adrian faced another heartbreaking loss. At 13, his dad was arrested for money laundering connected to the sale of crack cocaine and sentenced to 10 years in prison. This loss fueled Adrian's inner fire even more. At Palestine High School, Adrian became a three-sport standout in football, basketball, and track. He dominated the 100 and 200 meter races, triple jump, and long jump, following in his mom's footsteps. His high school coach believed he could have been an Olympic sprinter, but Adrian chose football. On the field, he combined elite speed with absurd strength, playing with an unmatched ferocity. As a junior, he ran for 2,051 yards and scored 22 touchdowns. His senior year, he rushed for 2,960 yards and 32 touchdowns, averaging an eye-opening 11.7 yards per carry. People started talking about him potentially skipping college and going straight to the NFL, but that wasn't allowed. So Peterson took the traditional college route. He was a consensus 5-star recruit and the top running back prospect in the 2004 class. Every college begged for his commitment, and he had others from top programs like Miami, USC, Texas, UCLA, and Oklahoma. Peterson chose to become an Oklahoma Sooner. Peterson was thrown into the deep end the second he stepped on campus in Norman. Everyone knew his name and expected him to live up to the hype. In each of his first 9 games, he rushed over 100 yards, setting a freshman record. He finished the season with 1,925 rushing yards, leading the conference and setting another NCAA freshman record. Peterson carried the Sooners to a perfect regular season and a berth in the national championship game. Despite this record-breaking season, Peterson finished second to USC quarterback Matt Leinart in the Heisman Trophy voting. But true freshmen are rarely considered for that award, so coming in second was still quite the honor. Peterson also became the first freshman in school history to be named a first-team AP All-American. After a storybook freshman season, there wasn't a single football fan who didn't know Peterson's name or his terrorizing running style. He was an unstoppable wrecking ball, taking no prisoners when he had the football in his hands. But after years of delivering punishment to opponents, Peterson's playing style finally caught up to him. As a sophomore, he struggled to stay healthy and missed all or part of 4 games with a high ankle sprain. Even so, he managed to rush for 1,108 yards that season. Peterson's junior year was set to be his final chance to solidify his spot on the Mount Rushmore of college football running backs. It also allowed him to play in front of his dad, who had been released from prison. With his dad in the stands for the first time since he was a little boy, Peterson broke off a 53-yard touchdown run. But what should have been the exclamation point for an extremely special day quickly turned into a nightmare. Peterson broke his collarbone, sidelining him for the rest of the regular season and creating serious doubts about his long-term durability. When he declared for the 2007 NFL Draft, teams at the top of the draft didn't believe in him. On draft night, Peterson fell to the Minnesota Vikings at pick number 7. This only fueled his motivation to prove those 6 teams wrong. Throughout his rookie campaign, Peterson was a man on a mission, steamrolling anyone in his way. In Week 6 against the Bears, he set an NFL record for all-purpose yards in a game with 361. 2 weeks later, in a game against the Chargers, Peterson set the league's single-game rushing yard record with 296 yards on the ground, also scoring 3 touchdowns. In games played that year, he ran for 1,341 yards and 12 touchdowns, despite missing 2 games due to injury. Peterson finished second in the league in total rushing yards, first in rushing yards per game, and was named NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, second team All-Pro, and made the Pro Bowl. After a picture-perfect start to his career, expectations were sky-high for year 2. Before the season started, Peterson even went on record saying his goals for the year were to win league MVP and rush for over 2,000 yards. While he ultimately fell short of those lofty goals, he didn't go down without a fight. That season, he led the league in rushing with 1,760 yards, which was the third most ever by a player in his second season, and was named First Team All-Pro. The following season in 2009, Peterson led the NFL in rushing touchdowns with 18, in addition to his 1,383 rushing and 436 receiving yards, helping him be named First Team All-Pro for a second straight year. 2010 was more of the same for Peterson, 1,298 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns, along with another All-Pro and Pro Bowl selection. By this point, the Vikings had seen enough from Peterson to realize he had the potential to be one of the greatest to ever play the game. So the day before the 2011 season began, Minnesota gave Peterson a 7-year, $96 million extension, making him the highest paid running back in league history. But the ensuing season brought him crashing back to reality. Late in the year, he suffered his first major injuries in the NFL, a torn ACL and MCL. These injuries can sometimes forever rob a player of his speed or agility, and all of a sudden, there were questions about Peterson's future. The 2012 season was his chance to answer everyone's questions. In true superhuman fashion, just 8 months after having his ACL reconstructed, Peterson was back. He wasn't fazed and ran with a vengeance, treating defenders like crash test dummies as he galloped for 2,097 rushing yards, second most in NFL history, and just 9 yards shy of Eric Dickerson's single-season record. Peterson brought home the league MVP and Comeback Player of the Year awards for his extraordinary return after suffering a very serious injury. Following a solid 2013 campaign where he became the third fastest player to reach 10,000 career rushing yards, Peterson's quest to become an all-time great was paused. Ahead of a Week 2 that season, Peterson was indicted on child abuse charges for disciplining his son by spanking him with a wooden switch. He was placed on the NFL's exempt list and suspended for the remainder of the year. During the next offseason, Peterson was given a second chance. When he returned, he showed zero signs of rust, leading the league in rushing yards and touchdowns with 1,485 and 11 respectively. Peterson became the first player to lead the league in rushing 3 different times since Barry Sanders, and was the oldest running back to ever be named First Team All-Pro at the age of 30. Heading into 2016, Peterson looked to string together back-to-back dominant seasons, but he didn't have the chance to do so. In his Week 2 game, Peterson suffered a torn meniscus and an LCL sprain that kept him out until Week 15, which was his final appearance of the year. After the season, Minnesota did what was once considered unimaginable. They moved on from Adrian Peterson. The Vikings didn't exercise his contract option, so he signed a 2-year, $7 million deal with the Saints. In New Orleans, Peterson's play was as off as he looked wearing his new jersey. After rushing for a total of 81 yards in his first 4 games, the Saints traded him mid-season to the Cardinals. In Arizona, he played in 6 games and rushed for 448 yards before suffering a season-ending neck injury. The Cardinals released Peterson after the season, and it appeared injuries had officially derailed his career. But the Washington Redskins decided to take a flyer on him, signing Peterson to a 1-year veteran minimum deal. In what was said to be his final shot in the league, Peterson went out and showed the world he wasn't done just yet. He rushed for 1,042 yards and became the 5th player in league history to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season at the age of 33 or older. Having shown he still had some left in the tank, Washington signed him to a 2-year, $8 million contract in 2019. Peterson rushed for a respectable 898 yards, but the Redskins released him prior to the following season beginning. Peterson then signed with the Lions and rushed for 604 yards and 7 touchdowns. Heading into the 2021 campaign, it once again seemed like Peterson's career was over. No team signed him until injury problems surfaced for the Titans' backfield in November. Peterson rushed for 82 yards in 3 games for Tennessee before being released and playing 1 game for the Seahawks. While he only played a single game for Seattle, Peterson managed to set some history by scoring a rushing touchdown and becoming the first player in league history to score rushing touchdowns with 6 different teams. Adrian Peterson's football career can be remembered as one of resilience. His greatest seasons always came after injury or time missed, when everyone counted him out. He was a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year 3 times during his career and won the award once. There were plenty of times Peterson could have given up, but he never did. And he was the greatest running back of the past decade because of it.